Thank you, Jill. Well, good morning, everybody, and it's an honor to be here in front of you for the CARE Summit for Take Care Cape Cod. In case you need a reminder, the seashore's here. And we kind of, being at that proximity to the rest of the Cape, we kind of anchor the stewardship responsibility for the entirety of Cape Cod. We have over 4 million visitors a year coming to the National Seashore. And to get here, they have to go through everything else. And that's a pretty powerful position for each and every one of you to be in and all the different organizations you represent. I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we do at the seashore, how important CARE has been to what we're accomplishing, give you a few ideas of what our economics are relative to the entire Cape, and share with you some very important resource stewardship success stories and some news that I'm sharing for the first time today that I think you'll all be excited to hear. So our relationship with CARE began 10 years ago when they first started. I believe we were the first recipient of one of their kind of inaugural project, setting up a wayside exhibit to explain the whales out on the Stellwagen Bank and their proximity and how important the seashore is to that up at Herring Cove. And if you caught the slideshow that was rolling ahead of this, you may have noticed a few hydration stations, water bottle filling stations. We have worked with CARE to install a number of those, and that kind of got the ball rolling for us. And we now have 13 locations throughout the seashore for the benefit of our visitors and also our park staff and volunteers and partners. So a huge thank you to CARE and for the Take Care Cape Cod campaign for helping us to exemplify and put forward responsible stewardship out at the National Seashore and to kind of be a leader in that regard for the entirety of the Cape. So thank you, Jill, for all that you've done over the last decade. And we look forward to doing that for at least 10, 20, 30 more. So thank you for that. Stewardship is what we're all about. Cape Cod National Seashore is one of over 400 units of the national park system. And stewardship is one of our primary roles. We are charged with providing an example for responsible environmental stewardship as an agency to put forward those values. We're all about preserving and protecting for the enjoyment of this and future generations, and that's something we strongly believe in and is at our core. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to share with you how those things are actionable. And one of the biggest ways is Park Service is a massive media engine. We've got 2 theaters in the seashore, not with as grand of a ceiling as this. This is a wonderful facility. First time I've been here, and I look forward to being back many more times. But we've actually got two theaters that are part of the seashore at our visitor centers at Salt Pond and up at Province Lands. We've also got a pretty significant social media presence and through a lot of print materials. And I know many of you helped to distribute the trip planner. But environmental stewardship and responsible stewardship are a core part of all the messaging at all those different media outlets for us. So we're out there communicating it as much as we possibly can. And one of the programs we've been a part of at Cape Cod since it started, and this is a national program, is the Climate Friendly Parks Program. We were one of the inaugural parks to have that implemented back in 2010, been very active with it over the last 12 years, developed a plan to integrate sustainability into all aspects of the park operations. Now, some of the ways we've done that, we have got green products that we utilize for all of our janitorial services. We have switched over to bio-based lubricants and greases for our significant vehicle fleet. The seashore operates as a small or medium-sized town. Because you got to remember, we've got everything from law enforcement function to maintenance functions. We run a seasonal public transportation tram service, and that's a pretty significant footprint overall. But we've work to really make that as sustainable as possible by integrating green products and climate-friendly products wherever we can, and continue to strive to improve upon that. And we've also implemented and integrated electric vehicles into our fleet. We've got 3 vehicles in the seashore right now, hope to continue expanding that. We've got some new executive orders and direction for very aggressively approaching that, still seeing how that might materialize. But we've got charging stations within the seashore and have helped Wellfleet get a couple of stations located at their town hall as well through a grant program. So we partner a lot with local communities on that. That example with Wellfleet is one, but another one that we've had a ton of success with, and it was years in the making, is at the Salt Pond Visitor Center. That's our largest public-facing septic system. We added an additional level of treatment that helps to capture nitrates before they're ever reintroduced into the groundwater system. And it's performing exactly as we expected it would and helping to reduce that nitrate load so it doesn't end up in Salt Pond. And we're also working with the town of Eastham and have implemented a permeable reactive barrier, which is an injection of a material into the groundwater that creates a virtual barrier that stops contaminants from ever reaching Salt Pond, and it's working very well from the preliminary data we've seen. So those are a few examples of what we've done with climate-friendly parks. We also have a green team at the seashore that has an integrated approach with representatives from all our different areas of responsibility that sit on it. And some of the things they've done is helped with those bottle filling stations develop signs that encourage recycling right where you're potentially at the source of the waste stream, and helping people be better informed about what they can do by, putting the plastic aside and choosing to go forward with having a refillable water bottle container. So we've got those at our beaches and at every one of the water bottle filling stations. We've worked with the Cape Light Compact to switch to LED lighting inside and outside our park main buildings wherever we can. So that's helped to reduce our energy load from a consumption standpoint. And we've also brought in photovoltaic systems to a number of our facilities and are looking to do more with that. And every one of our staff trainings has a message focused on sustainability, climate-friendly practices, and we do our best to walk the walk as well as share that information throughout the environment, throughout the community. And every year, we track greenhouse gases. Just yesterday, one of our AmeriCorps service members, Hannah Crosby, who's in the office with us, was crunching those numbers to see how we're doing. And we've got some pretty impressive results that since we implemented our programs about a decade ago, we now know that we have reduced our overall greenhouse gas emissions by 27%. And we hope to do more. There's programs being put into place that are going to enable us to do that. But that's some pretty significant progress, and we hope to build on that. So we've got the same goals, and we collaborate with and advise a lot of the things that many of you are engaged in along the Cape for trying to reach that laudable, I feel strongly attainable goal of being zero carbon at some point in the not too far future. Now I want to share a little bit with you about the impacts of the National Seashore on the economy out here in the Cape. 4 million visitors. That's pretty consistent. Since 1970, we've only dropped below 4 million 3 times, and that's just barely, it's 3.9. 2 years ago, at the height of the pandemic, because of a lot of different visitor use patterns throughout the country, we actually did something we don't do very often. We cracked the top 10 for visitation in the Park Service. That got a lot of press, but typically we're in the teens or low 20s in terms of the visitation numbers for the entirety of the National Park Service. So what does that mean? That puts us on par with Rocky Mountain National Park, Yellowstone, Northern Glacier. We're one of the most visited sites of the National Park System year after year. We're one of our New England neighbor to the north, Acadia National Park, is right in that same ballpark as well. That's a lot of people coming and interacting at the seashore. And the spending effects that they have on the local economy are huge. And there's so much out here on the Cape beyond the seashore that attracts people that all of you are a part of. Let me just give you an idea of how those numbers equate in terms of contributing to the entire economy. And this is data that is all done by PhD economists that are way smarter than I am, that do these studies year after year. So those 4.1 million visitors spend an estimated $523 million in the gateway communities throughout the Cape. That supports over 6,000 jobs. That's $240 million in labor income and $418 million in value added to the local economy. And in terms of total economic output, that's $676 million. Those are huge numbers. Those are the kind of numbers that really get a lot of attention. And that's kind of a trickle-down effect of what's happening from all the people that are attracted to come out to the seashore. So, and it's also very powerful in that all that's happening through the businesses within the communities, through the organizations, through the towns, we all have a chance to share with them how to be climate responsible, and are doing that through so many efforts within the seashore and within the local communities. You know, the Cape itself and its configuration on the Outer Cape, we interact with directly 6 towns on a very regular basis within the seashore. Chatham, Orleans, Eastham, Wellfleet, Truro, Provincetown. But we have reach that goes way beyond that throughout the rest of the Cape, and are thrilled to be such a part and a collaborative portion of what happens to make the Cape what it is for so many millions, and a world-renowned resource for all of us to be so proud of and share. Jill asked me if I could add a little bit more to my discussion, and I'm happy to do that. Greg is going to be speaking a little bit later as our keynote, and he asked me to, or Jill shared with me a few things he thought I could elaborate on to help set up his presentation. You know, one of the questions he had for me, or he posed, was, are visitor bottlenecks limited to peak summer months? Principally, yes, they are. I was speaking out before we started this morning, and you know, of the 4 million visitors we get, well over 80% of those happen during the peak of the season, June through August, basically Memorial Day to Labor Day. As we all know, it really doesn't get ramped up out here until 4th of July. That's a very intensive period on the Cape. We were joking with Julie a little bit that, you know, how long does it take to get to Wellfleet? Well, this time of year, 30 minutes. August, forget it. And that's just part of that's reflective of how intensive the visitor use is out here on the Cape during those summer months. We are seeing a little bit more on the shoulder seasons. We do have, prior to the pandemic, it was quite frequent. We'd get up to 60 buses a day going through the Salt Pond Visitor Center during this time of year and into the fall. That's something that we've had to adjust our staffing for a little bit, but it still doesn't meet the same level of visitor saturation that we see Cape-wide during the summer months. Now, did our visitation shift during the pandemic? Not really. We still had those pretty high numbers, but how we interacted with the visitors obviously shifted quite a bit. Our visitor centers were outdoor only last summer and summer of 2020. We're open again. We don't have any restrictions in terms of occupancy. We're still encouraging social distancing, but we are open and providing the services our visitors expect. Sands of Time will be showing again at Salt Pond Visitor Center up at Province Lands, and also our new film, Standing Bold, is something that you can come and check out as well, and our museum is fully open. But in terms of what we did, we kept everything open. through the course of the pandemic to help enable all the folks that wanted to seek solace and reflection and the opportunity to recreate, the opportunity to do so in the seashore. And we saw about the same number of visitations we did from years past. In terms of the importance of the Park Service and Cape Cod National Seashore working with the gateway communities, Greg asked, what are our top priorities to amplify impact tourism, volunteerism? One of the top things is just to share that the seashore is there and for folks to get out and experience it and see it firsthand. And I think we do that pretty well, as reflected in the number of visitors we get. And we distribute about 80,000 trip planners every year that help convey those messages. That's one media form. We have things available through our social media continuously. But I think just getting that word out to the visitors, to the communities, so that they can get introduced through the Park Service or amplified or reflect on things that they may be doing in their own home and realizing that connectivity and the connection to it of how that makes a difference for the overall community and how they can help address climate change in their own daily lives. In terms of what we're doing with social media, the Park Service now has kind of a one-stop app that you can download and get and key it into the site you want to learn the most about. And it's a really powerful tool that if you haven't seen it, I'd encourage you to go and check it out. And it all derives information that's native on our webpage. So it kind of links everything together. And we've got a pretty strong presence on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And we continue to message that in creative ways to get the word out on what's going on in the seashore, what's happening in terms of daily activities, and just being able to provide reminders to the visitors to the Cape in whatever capacity they're coming in or however they're interacting. That's one other way you can connect and help forward and amplify everything we're trying to do to be responsible citizens relative to climate change. If you'd like, I can open it up for a little bit of Q&A. Jill, we go to that? Or are we queued up?
I think Greg's.
Okay, Greg's ready?
Yeah,
All right,
we can add that.
great. And I will be around for the remainder, so thanks for listening to me this morning. I hope you learned a little bit. And again, you know, the big takeaway, we've been able to reduce our emissions for greenhouse gases by 27% over the last decade at the seashore.